Hello, and welcome to this special video for the Virtual Open Day at Tilburg University for the Master Strategic Management. I have put together a short selection of videos. One of them is a student testimonial recorded by a student who is currently taking the program and who also did the pre-master program. The second video is a small video to introduce the course Corporate Entrepreneurship. Corporate Entrepreneurship is one of the courses in our entrepreneurship track. And the second video is an introduction to the course Strategic Consultancy, which is a compulsory course in our consultancy track. The fourth video is the one we are looking at now, and that is a general video about the content of the whole program. So, welcome. What I want to do is discuss 4 different topics with you. First of all, meet the team. Who are we, myself and my education coordinator, how we work in this program, what the program really means in terms of content, which courses there are and why they are there, and how we offer them. And then there's career. What do our graduates do after they finish this program? So let's get started with who is who. The 2 people who are in charge of this program are Julia Kotchak. She is our education coordinator. When you apply for this program and you have any special questions, she is the one to turn to. She is really the contact person for the students, both before they start the program, when they're busy with it as well. Maybe there are special things you want to do. You want to extend your master, for example, then you need to go to her. Or maybe there are complications with your program. Maybe something happens and you are not really able to continue as you had planned, then she is also the person to go to. So Ilya is very important for the students and she loves to help you. My name is Marjan Groen. I am the academic director of this program and I'm responsible for the academic content, for the educational approach that we take, basically for everything administrative that takes place in this program and has to do with the content. So you will see me at the introduction and at the graduation ceremony and also the courses that I teach in, but otherwise I'm more of the administration. So let's have a look at the program. How do we work in the Master Strategic Management? Well, there are two parts to this. One is what we do, and we bring you a couple of things. We bring you industry professionals, people we know who work in industry, who are very knowledgeable about certain topics, and we ask them to come and give guest lectures, for instance, and our own academics are specialized in the fields that they teach in. So you really get the best of both worlds then, the academic and the practical. Which brings me to the second point. It's a mix of theory and practice. We give you a lot of theory. Of course, it's a master program, so there are a lot of academic articles that you should be reading, but there are also practical cases or assignments that you are going to be working on. We prepare all of that for you. We have a focus on recent developments, on things that are happening in society right now. So we're not just about theory, but we're also about current events that deserve our attention, like climate change, like economic problems that are occurring and how we can look at those and how we can resolve them possibly. And the fourth point here related to the other points I've already made, we team up with industry players. We know people outside the university who really have something to share and to contribute to the program. And we invite them to do that as well. We also expect something from you, as I see here on the right. It is a program where you have to work hard. Of course, every master program will say that. In our case, it means there are many assignments, and an assignment usually means a team assignment. So you work with other students in a group to solve usually a problem that is very much related to practice, to how things really work in society. Slightly more at a distance from real life are cases. Those are existing cases. They have been written with a particular purpose, and you analyze them. You see how the current theory that you're studying is relevant to this case, how you can apply it, how you can work with it. Then we also offer you different learning materials. I'm looking where my mouse is here. Challenging materials, data sets, and academic articles. Yeah, the time of using textbooks for learning are past. In a master program, we don't use textbooks anymore. We look at academic articles that are usually a bit difficult to read because they are very specialized. They are written by academics for other academics, and we're asking you to make sense of those. Of course, we help you with that because that's why we're there. We are the lecturers. How do we offer this all to you in a program of 7 weeks? A course always is 7 weeks. It's intensive. It's a lot of work, a lot of content in that period, usually including at least one assignment as well. But then you're done. You do 2 or 3 of these courses at the same time. I'll talk you through the program in a minute, the calendar. And then afterwards, there is usually an exam, and then you get ready for the next period. So there are 4 of these periods in a year in which you do 7 weeks of teaching. So which methods do we use? If we see here our program strategic management, then of course there are lectures, plenary lectures, where we basically talk to you. We try to make them interactive, but still, it's a lot of it is one way. And there are tutorials where we expect you to do more of the work and really, team up with other students and learn from doing exercises in class. Typically, cases are discussed during tutorials, existing texts about real companies, and you can see how you can apply theory. But also assignments are discussed and monitored during tutorials, and those are projects that you have to do with a team, again, to apply the theory, to learn more about real companies. Assignments, of course, are also a way for us to grade you as our exams. We also set exams where you individually answer questions about the material. Then there are coaching sessions for some of the assignments. Occasionally there is an excursion to a company. Usually there are guest lectures as well. We invite people from the outside world, and maybe there are simulations as well where you can experience what it's like to try to accomplish something in a company, for instance, a strategy implementation. So that was basically the idea of how we work. And now I want to move on to the content, the program itself. And this looks a bit complicated, so I'll just talk you through it. The Master Strategic Management is a 1-year program. You start in September, you finish in September, or you start in February and you finish in February. That's how it works. In this program, these courses and the thesis are taken by all students. In fact, all courses that we offer are compulsory. But these courses are compulsory for everyone who starts, the ones here at the top. So that is business level strategy, which is about, as the title says, at the business level, what kind of strategic decisions need to be made in order to keep that business unit healthy in the long run. And it can be, for instance, decisions about what competitive strategy to choose, cost leadership or product differentiation. Then there's the course corporate level strategy, which has to do clearly with the higher level, the decisions that are made at the level of the corporation. For instance, which strategic alliances should a company get involved in. Then there's international strategy, which is clearly to do with the connections with the company to the outside world in terms of other countries that they may want to enter, either just as places where they produce or as places where they also sell. So that's the topic of entry modes. And then there's a course called strategy implementation, which really has to do with when you have thought up a strategy, like you do here in these first 3 ones. how can you make sure that it will actually work in your company? How can you implement it? And that has a lot to do with incentives. How do you get your people to follow the rules that you have thought up so that your strategy can actually be implemented and then lead to results? So those are called all content courses. Then there is a course research skills, which involves quantitative and qualitative methods. And you will be busy there looking at specific research techniques that are relevant to studies in strategic management. And that will also prepare you for the next compulsory part of this, which is namely the thesis. The master thesis is your graduation project. It has the same weight as 3 regular courses, so it's 18 ECTs, and you do this individually, and you are supervised by a uh, by a supervisor. So we talked about the thesis, the graduation project, and that basically concludes this part on the compulsory parts for every student in the Master Strategic Management. Then we get to the complicated part, the 2 tracks. A track basically means that you take 2 courses that are related to each other. They're on the same in the same area. For instance, strategic consultancy. And the 2 courses there are strategy analytics. That really looks at what kind of data do you need for making decisions, and where can you find this data? Because typically the data you need is not available in the right form. You really need to know what it is you're looking for. You need to work on clever and creative ways to make that data relevant to your questions. And then there is strategic consultancy, which is of course really about skills, about how consultants do their work. Which consulting skills do you need when you want to work in practice? These 2 courses are what we call the strategic consultancy track, and you can only take that track when you start in September. So this is important. These 5 courses are compulsory, the thesis is compulsory, and these 2 courses are compulsory if you start in September. If you start in February, then the compulsory courses are slightly different, because then you are in the entrepreneurship track. And it means that you get a course called corporate entrepreneurship, which is really, and I've included a video about this course, which is really about the problems that big companies have in remaining relevant, in being innovative, in making sure that they are in the marketplace at the right time with the right innovations. Not an easy challenge, corporate entrepreneurship. And then there is sustainable entrepreneurship course that I teach. Where is my mouse? And that really has to do with industry transformation. We live in a current system that has its problems, both in social terms and in environmental terms. And the question is, how can companies contribute to change? How can they change the current situation where, people are creating a lot of problems? How can we create businesses that actually help solve problems? Those 2 courses are part of the entrepreneurship track, and the entrepreneurship track is what you do when you start in February. So you take these 5 courses, you write your thesis, and you take these 2 courses. To show that in a calendar, we created the following overview diagram. And if you are starting in September, August, the beginning of the academic year, then you take 3 courses at the same time: business level strategy, corporate level strategy, international strategy, 7 weeks. You take your exams, then you take 2 more courses before Christmas: research skills and strategy analytics. You are in the consultancy track here. Then at the beginning of the new year, the calendar year, you take strategic consultancy and strategy implementation. And from sort of halfway through that period on, you are going to be writing your master thesis. So that's when you start in September. When you start in January or February, then you have 3 courses as well: international management, strategy implementation, and sustainable entrepreneurship. Those are the 3 courses running at that time, and you are in the entrepreneurship track. Then there's corporate entrepreneurship and research skills before the summer. And of course, you can already start thinking about your thesis topic here. Then we take a break. We're back in September, and you take business level strategy and corporate level strategy at that time. And then afterwards, you're available for your thesis, and you will finish sort of at the midway through January. So by the 1st of February, you will be finished with the master. Yeah. So this is basically from February to February. This is really from September until September, and those are the two flavors that we offer. Yeah. So we have two tracks, but really when you start determines which track you will follow. Those are the things that you have to do, the courses that are part of our curriculum. But of course, there are extracurricular activities. This is a university, so a lot of activities are organized for you, not so much by me, the program director, but by, for instance, our Department of Career Support. They have a real interesting portfolio of activities and trainings that are relevant for you to discover what it really is you want to do after your studies and to help you pursue those career opportunities. Another very important group of people within the university are our students, our study association, Asset Strategy and Logistics. They organize a lot of activities. They have very good contact with business, so they invite business partners, companies for all kinds of events, and if you take part in their activities, you can also put those on a separate certificate of extracurricular achievements that you can add to your CV. And then we have the Academic Business Club for those people who are interested in entrepreneurship. A really nice club to join. They always have great events. They know a lot of people. It's a very inspiring place if you are interested in entrepreneurship. So that is inside the university, and kind of on a basis of if you're interested in this, you can do it. If you really want to add more academic content to your program, you can also look at these possibilities. An extended master, as the name suggests, you take the extended master, and that means that you will take longer, basically 6 months longer, to actually finish your degree. Yeah? So it's not 12 months, it's 18 months, but in that time you spend time with a company and getting extra training. Something you have to apply for, and if you have the time and the motivation to do it, it's a really nice challenge. Another challenge could be to do a dual degree, but that takes you 2 years, of course, because you get 2 diplomas from 2 universities, and the other university is always a foreign university. You can find all that information on our website. Same goes for QTEM. I have to tell you that the word quantitative here in Quantitative Techniques for Economics and Management really means that you have to be very, very comfortable with mathematics. Otherwise, this is not a program for you. But if you are, absolutely a wonderful experience if you can do this. So these are additions to the program that will actually cost more time. The events up here are more activities that you do in your spare time, and they don't stop you from graduating within a year. So it's up to you. Either you finish all your courses in 1 year and you enrich your program with these activities that I just mentioned, or you extend your program formally through a dual degree or an extended master or QTEM, that takes more time. Or you can make it even more ambitious and add another master program or take a board year, and that will also take more time to graduate. For these two last points, I really recommend to contact our education coordinator as soon as possible when you have these ideas, because they really need to be organized and they need to be approved. Otherwise, you make it more difficult to achieve all these things. So if you are ambitious, by all means, check out all these possibilities. And as I said, she's not only happy to facilitate, but also to help with making these decisions. So here's just a brief overview of a number of things that our study association organized. An entrepreneurship event, for instance, where real entrepreneurs come and talk about real entrepreneurial issues. And in the afternoon, there's a challenge where you can try your own entrepreneurial skills. There are the consultancy days where you meet a lot of consulting firms and can also take part in workshops, to see what it is they expect from a consultant. You see that here. And very important, the strategy dinner, also a way to get to know companies in an informal way, certainly also a way for those companies to get to know you. So yes, we organize a lot outside the program as well. You don't have to worry that you will be bored. And I always like to say it's graduation day before you know it. This is a graduation photo taken a while ago. It's, as you can see, it's quite a number of students who take part in this master. It's usually 120 per intake, so 120 in September, 120 in February as well. And it's always wonderful to see all these promising people, these talented young people on the stage on their way to further their career. Speaking of careers, what is it people do who graduate in this program? Well, there isn't much that you cannot do, in a sense. It's a pretty generic strategic management, which is also shown then in the jobs that people find. These are the starting positions. Management trainee usually means that a big company takes you on with the idea that you, for instance, spend 6 months in each of their different divisions, and then after that they make a plan for you to get your own division to become a manager. There are business analysts working in bigger companies, in banks or consultancy firms, really analyzing, lots of data about other companies. There are consultants, of course, usually starting at the junior level. Business developer, this can happen in a lot of companies, but we really need people who can think, but who can also be practical, see opportunities, act on those. Some people, of course, become an entrepreneur or are entrepreneurs already and build up and expand their own business. That definitely happens. And some people can become researchers. I mean, don't forget, this is a Master of Science, so it entitles you to, in any case, to apply for the position of a PhD student to, do more research at the university and start a promotion path. Companies, where do people work? Well, everywhere. It's hard to imagine a company where you could not work with this particular master. I like to point out that also government ministries are of course places where you could work. There are businesses, there's the typical consultancies, but here there's the Royal Dutch Football Association. It's like I say, there's quite a range of companies, and it's also what you make of it, because the important thing is to match your master program with your ambitions and create your own career. Here are some examples of people who graduated from this program. 3 years ago, Kenny Jongen graduated, and he's an account manager in private banking at ING now. You can see that he looked at a couple of banks before he got there, and worked at Action, always on the side. Robert Hornstra, he owns a store. He is an entrepreneur, and he owns a store in Scandinavian interior design. That's what his passion is after he worked at Philips for a couple of years. Iris, for instance, she worked for an interesting company called Ormit. Ormit is a company that hires graduates and then puts them as placements with different companies. So you do an internship for 6 months with a different company, and then you move on to another company for 6 months in order to find out where your talents are and where you would be at home. And then there's Jelle. He's at Accenture in France at the moment, and this is also a possibility, of course, to work internationally. So I hope I've shown you a number of things about what we do in the program, but also what you can do in the program and what you can do afterwards. And you're very welcome to send your questions to this address, and they will make sure that the questions get to the right person, because I can imagine that you have questions about how to get into the program, or more about the career prospects, or more about the content of the program. Those questions will all arrive with the right people if you send them to this address. So I wish you happy decision making, and take that leap and dive right in when you've decided what it is you want to do.